Welcome to Classical Chats. I'm Tiffany, I'm a classical pianist and also the host of this series where I have conversations with people who love classical music, anyone from professional musicians to casual everyday listeners, or even you. I'm also the founder of Together with Classical, which is a charity dedicated to supporting and promoting classical music, bringing everyone together in the shared passion for classical music. And we're very, very happy, we as in me and my charity team are very happy to be in partnership with DreamStage. It's a very revolutionary, high-quality live streaming platform where I also just played a concert there a few days ago. So a huge thank you to DreamStage for supporting Together with Classical's mission of offering opportunities for people to experience classical music. We are offering concert ticket giveaways. Make sure you check out the links in the description. If you are able to buy a ticket, please just buy a ticket to support artists. But if you're not able to, which is totally understandable, and that's why I really care about this charity, enter to win a ticket. We're moving from the piano and from my instrument to violin. We're gonna meet a young virtuoso 19-year-old Kevin Ju. We've met before in Mordsburg Festival. I played with him one short little piece. He has amazing technique. So it's no wonder that he won the Paganini competition. He currently studies at Juilliard, although in a very different environment nowadays. So I'm curious to see how he's doing. Hi, Kevin.
Hello, how are you?
Yours suddenly sounds so formal. I told you it's just a chat.
All right.
It's fine. We can keep this in. It's very casual.
Yeah.
So as I mentioned to them, I've met you before, so it's good. It's not like I do this to strangers. I don't just make fun of them. Okay. So
How's life?
how's life? I don't know. I live in a very strange world where I don't really know what time it is anymore. How are you? You're in New York? You're back in New York?
Yes, I'm back in New York. I spent 2 weeks in Germany at Mordsburg, where we were both last year.
Yes, but I wasn't invited this year.
Oh,
But how was that? It looked really fun.
it was so crazy because it was like 2 weeks in the middle of this sort of COVID bubble. It was a long process to get through immigration, like to to get into the country because currently U.S. citizens are not really allowed to go. They're not
Right.
supposed to go. But we worked it out. There's a very generous sponsor. The whole festival was outdoors, so it was open air. We had a little canopy above the stage, and the audience was just like sitting distanced. It was outside the castle, it was on the North Terrace.
Yeah.
It was really nice. It was sort of insane to see how dedicated the audience was to going to these concerts. Because the opening concert, it was raining really hard.
Yeah, I saw that.
And we played 2 guitar quintets and Dvorak piano quintet through it all. And we were under the sort of canopy above the stage, but the audience, they had to hand out ponchos to each and every one of them, and they just sat there and they were so sort of appreciative of the chance to hear live music again. It was very inspiring to see.
Yeah, that must have been really touching to experience. Was it your first time playing live since this whole lockdown thing, or
Live to
in
an
front of a
audience?
live audience? Yeah, I mean, yes, I've seen you play on live streams. I was the host also. Like I've seen you play.
Music never sleeps. Yeah.
Yes, people don't sleep also. So musicians don't sleep apparently. No, that's not the correct image we want to give to people. How's it been preparing back into performing for people again, like in person concerts? Is there a transition for you?
There was definitely a little bit of a period where, because after so many months, it felt almost a little unnatural. Whereas before we were always in this flow of performing and traveling and going around and doing things. So it was, especially in the rehearsals, it was like the first moment when everyone came together, and it was special, but also so weird to have to transition back into talking with other people outside of your family, interacting with a public that you hadn't seen in so long. And in terms of like the playing element of it, there was a little bit of adjusting to do, both for the open air aspect of it,
Oh yeah.
playing outdoors, but also just, projecting again to someone else besides yourself. But the end result was always very, very nice. It was always so much fun to play.
Speaking of having to talk and socialize with other people, you just came back from a rehearsal, didn't you?
Oh, I was playing with Rohan De Silva,
Oh.
Sri Lankan pianist, who's played with Mr. Perlman, Itzhak Perlman, who I study with.
Ah, right. So you're rehearsing for a dream stage.
We were rehearsing for Dream Stage this Saturday.
Yes. How's it going?
It's going very well. He has the nicest textures and colors. He always responds very quickly and with sort of like a super knowledge of the music and the score at all times. So yeah, he's a very special player, very special person. So it's very, very enjoyable.
Good. Looking forward to your recital there. Because first, sorry, I completely forgot rehearsals because for those who don't know, you're studying at Juilliard, and so when I hear from a Juilliard student that they have the rehearsal, I just immediately associate that with something to do with school. I don't know why, but I've been out of school for a long time also, so I don't know why that association still exists in my mind. But you said Juilliard's closed, right? So what's going on actually with schools, with at least music schools? Or wait, you're there for a bachelor, right?
Yeah, but at least for Juilliard, they're doing 3 blocks of 7 weeks each. The first block is going to be entirely online, so no one's going to be on campus basically, unless you have some sort of special need, like let's say you don't have a space to practice, or you don't have like a good internet connection. They'll provide that to you if you need it. And the second block is they're starting to phase in like in-person lessons. So you'll go there for a little bit of lessons, a little bit of chamber music and some rehearsing, maybe a studio class once in a while. But all the academic stuff will still be online. And then the third block, which takes us, the third block is like starting next year, which is crazy to think about.
Wow.
This is all first semester, by the way. So the third block is going to be an all performance segment. So they'll do some recitals, some chamber music, some orchestra, sort of like small ensembles for orchestra. They'll have maybe 15-person groups. Yeah, that's semester 1. Semester 2 is supposed to be everything back to normal. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I'm sort of hoping that the situation is better and there are fewer cases, so that everything can resume. And second semester is planning to be a normal semester, taking us to the middle of June, which is much later than usual, which I guess means a little less summertime for me. But yeah, usually school ends middle of May.
Yeah. Well, at least for colleges, yes.
Yeah.
When I was in high school, it was always ending in June. But what's it like so you're still taking lessons is it through online everything? Because for academic, like liberal arts college, it makes sense. It's probably doable with the online system, but are you just learning through like playing through Zoom stuff, like online?
Yeah, well,
Really?
since the middle of March, when everything shut down in New York, and they sent everyone home, we've been doing everything online through Zoom. There was a bit of a transition period because like you go home and you're like, oh wait, how's this going to work? How's the sound quality? How is it? It's a totally different like interaction because you don't get to see the person.
Yeah.
And they don't get to hear you live, so they always have to do it through like it goes through several layers of electronics before it gets to them.
Yeah.
It's always distorted, and then like they don't quite know what's happening, and Zoom does a little bit of compression.
Yeah. But you're still able to learn and
yes. Well, I mean,
to do the lessons with the distorted sounds and everything like that.
Yeah, I ended up using like an external microphone, which is really helpful because it bypasses some of the filters that go into like the computer and like through your computer's microphone, which isn't that great. But I think there were some things. I mean, I'm not a teacher and I've never taught anyone through Zoom, but I anticipate that there are some things that they would have to pay attention to differently.
Right.
Uh,
But as a
like
student, though, did you experience? I mean, there must have been a difference, right? Or no?
yeah, yeah. That with I think I always find it with a good teacher, they always find a way to emphasize a human connection between the the student and the teacher. It's always a conversation and a dialogue as opposed to I play, he talks, or I play, she talks. It's
Mm.
always a sort of questioning about the values of things and
Hmm.
uh,
So a bit more philosophical than just the technical stuff.
yes, yes, very very much philosophical, and also trying to find like the secrets of the music, the secrets of playing, and all this sort of thing, which is a lot harder when you're doing it online. Um,
Is there
because
a specific advice that stood out to you?
uh, there are a
Did I
lot
ask
of
a really hard
things.
question? Sorry.
Yeah, really hard question. Uh,
No, I'm just intrigued because I don't have a teacher now, so I don't have
oh yeah.
this. Yeah. Um, yeah, I'm out of school.
Oh
So
goodness.
I don't have this experience of learning through technology. I play through technology, but I don't learn. Um, I mean, I learn in other ways through technology, but not in the school system, you know.
Mhm.
So I'm very curious. That's why.
I guess they talked a lot about. Well, I have two teachers, and they both
Who do
talked a
you
bit
study
about.
with?
I study with Itzhak Perlman as one of them,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and Lee Lin is the other.
Mm.
Uh, they both talked sort of about the human aspects,
Right.
a sort of shared experience of living through COVID. And I mean, obviously, everyone has different perspectives, and they live in different realities, like socioeconomic stuff and that. And some people are more fortunate than others. The sort of connection we have to each other in this sort of time is more essential than we thought it was before.
Mm-hmm.
Because previously we were like, oh, we can see whoever we want, we can go wherever we want. But when suddenly all those things are taken away from us, we sort of have to dig deep inside and be like, okay, what kind of person do I want to be? What kind of human being do I want to sort of embody? And what kind of action can I take to help those that need it? Um, and so I think you've done that very well with your charity and with all of
Oh, thank you.
that you do. So
Do you think this time has changed you as a musician and how you play? Has it affected you? I mean, I assume so, but
I think we're all forced to think a little bit about what we value in the world and
Mhm.
the value of music in the world, especially.
What do you think
Uh,
is the value of music in the world?
I've always had sort of changing ideas about it.
Yeah, of
Uh,
course.
Sometimes it represents a very healing element of our lives, and it can always bring us to a different place or to take us away from reality for a little bit. And sometimes I sort of consider it as like the pinnacle of human achievement in a way. It sounds so pretentious,
No,
but
no, no.
it's a like eternal journey. You know,
Yeah.
you never find any answers. You never find any concrete definitions for what is this, what is this, what is correct. But in a way, it's also very inspiring because of that. You're always searching for something
Mm-hmm.
uh, in life and in music. Um, I think that's one of the things that you can sort of apply to anything. You're always searching for something greater. You know, you can call it it's more efficient or it's better or it's more accurate in
Just
the
something
long run.
higher, kind of,
So
or
yeah, yeah.
something
In,
transcendental and
yeah.
not
In the long
just.
run, like, the little details don't matter as much as the sort of general vision that you have.
Hmm.
So
But that's definitely not the case with your playing, though. You're very, very technically perfect in the details. So um, I will say maybe that's not your approach in the very technical musical side. I mean, maybe that's more of me. I definitely make a lot more mistakes. But so I'm learning something new about you. Your whole point about how music to you is like this endless searching, and this idea of endless searching for something higher is a very romantic thought, you know. And
yeah,
are you somehow intellectually romantic, and is that why you chose a very romantic program for the dream stage?
Well, I don't know what it means necessarily to be a intellectual romantic.
No, I just, like in German Romanticism,
Well,
all the
I didn't major in
authors.
I didn't major in philosophy, so
No, but this whole thing that you've been talking
yeah, yeah,
about endless searching for something, it's
yeah.
what the romantics. I don't mean in the pop culture sense of romantic.
Yeah.
I mean in the like as a literary movement, as a
Like the
culture.
art movement. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's everything. It's philosophy. It's in literature. So that's why I was curious if
Mm.
maybe that is the or maybe subconsciously why you chose, or if there was a intentional design or reason for your program, because it's romantic pieces, right?
Yeah, they're very, very romantic
Right.
pieces.
Yeah, I mean I don't know anything about violin aside from maybe how to break a string when I tune violin, so I don't know your repertoire at all, so by all means explain a little bit to me about what I'm going to be hearing.
Yeah, yeah. So the first part is there are two pieces in the program. The first piece is Bartok's solo sonata, and the second one is the Strauss violin sonata. The Bartok is wild. I think is the best way to put it, because it goes everywhere.
Yeah, I heard snippets
You would
of
expect
her playing.
musically,
Yeah.
technically, psychologically. It's a very sort of ordered piece, like in terms of structure and the phrasing,
Huh.
uh, and its
Interesting
construction.
juxtaposition.
But it's Bartok, so the notes are going to be all over the place. um,
I haven't really played much Bartok, maybe one piece when I was 6, so.
oh, wow.
But I have heard Bartok's music, so I know
Yeah,
it goes everywhere.
there are a lot of like rustic elements, a lot of folk elements.
What made you choose the piece?
First and foremost, a monumental piece for solo violin, and I thought I would tackle it over quarantine because not like you're playing with anyone else. And I thought,
Didn't any Zoom. I feel like every other instrument aside from even pianists, like I see so many Zoom videos. I guess you didn't participate in any of those.
No, I didn't do many of those like collaborative playing.
I saw so many.
It didn't. I tried it with my quartet at Juilliard. It just didn't feel like there was anything there. I mean, that's just my personal opinion. But back to the Bartok, I thought, I have a couple months at least. Let's go through this piece. And as I started learning it, I was so fascinated by all these little things and how they all come together to build a massive work. And I thought it was an exciting and exhilarating piece, perhaps a little foreign to most listeners, but I think there's an element of that sort of almost primal energy that translates well to everyone. The slow movement especially is really beautiful. It takes you on into another planet, basically. In a sense, I thought it represented a bit of like the situation today in the world with, there's so much strife and there's so much suffering, but there's also these little glimmers of like these fragments of hope and positivity that exists in every single person, sort of no matter what they're going through. I thought it was really powerful.
So you chose that piece, and
yeah.
You'll definitely be up for the challenge and be able to play it really well.
Hope so.
Because you have really impeccable technique, and everyone knows that. I mean, at least maybe not necessarily YouTube, but people talk about your impeccable technique. So, what's next? Aside from Bartok,
the piece after that is the Strauss violin sonata. Another one of these romantic gems. It's like it was written when Strauss was very young. I think maybe
Hmm.
only 18 or 19,
Hmm.
uh,
So around your age.
around that age, which is insane to think about. He wrote an amazing piece. I mean, but he wasn't the only one. Mozart was writing when he was like 3 years old or something.
Yeah.
Mendelssohn wrote an octet when he was 16. Crazy to think about. But this piece is
Does it speak to you since it was created the same age that you are, kind of?
there's yes, definitely there's an element of like almost a bravery, like
Hmm.
exploring, like stepping foot into the world and like really trying to make your mark.
Hmm.
I found sort of appealing. It's very romantic, so it's very idealistic, and it always strives after something, and it shows visions of a future Strauss that would write these enormous tone poems,
Hmm.
Don Juans and the Don Quixote, also Sprach's, these huge pieces for massive orchestras, and to see the inklings of that in a piece for only two instruments. And I thought it was a nice contrast to the Bartok also, in terms of its construction. It's sort of always plays with time a little bit and plays with the phrasing. There's always like an extra bar here or
Hmm.
a little added thing here, a little thing here.
What
And
made
it's,
you choose the piece?
well, I love it. I mean, it's a fantastic
That's
piece.
basically
And
the best reason to playing a piece.
yeah,
So
yeah.
did you know it from recording, or you just know of the pieces?
I heard it in a couple recordings, and I also heard it last summer. I went to a recital. I forget who was playing, but I was sort of taken away. Um,
Oh, interesting. So the piece transcended the performer.
yes, well, I I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it it
Don't know
always
who it was, so it doesn't matter. What was the reason that you paired these two together?
the main thing I thought about was that they come from different ends of the sort of the powerhouse late Romantic era. So Strauss was writing this in I think it was 1888. So it's just before Mahler and Bruckner and what you would think of as like the sort of almost breaking the boundaries of everything that had been written before. Um, and you know, after Mahler, you get to Schoenberg and the 12th tone row, and everyone freaks out, and the entire world collapses on itself. So it's before that, and the Bartok is right after that. Is I think it was in the 1940s.
Yeah, so you flipped the chronological order, actually.
Yeah.
Was that on purpose, or did you just think that that order works well?
I think
Personally,
it.
I always try to go chronological, but then recently I've gone beyond that and break through the bounds of time. But
Yeah.
what's the
Well,
decision for you?
I've done a couple of recital programs where I went like from the Baroque era. I did it like a some Bach and some like Leclerc or something, and then Mozart, and then I went to a Romantic Sonata, and then there's like a showpiece to finish or something.
Right, that was basically my formula for 10 years of my life,
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
more.
And I've been exploring different ideas lately. I think last year I did a program of Beethoven and Paganini. I did the Beethoven Kreutzer Sonata, and then the second half was just a lot of notes. It was a lot of Paganini. Uh, um,
But why not? I mean, you're so great at it, so
yeah, well,
the pieces for you, that's, yeah, makes sense for you to play them. Doesn't make sense for me to play any technical stuff like that, but
yeah, but I've been interested in this sort of like two composer program thing for. Um,
interesting.
they're in a sense they're also two opposing personalities. The composers of my program, Bartok and Strauss.
Hmm.
Um, Strauss was he was always trying to break the structure, and a lot of his pieces are basically written exactly to a matching story. So it's like if something happens in the story at this particular time, it will happen also in the music without necessarily needing any musical context or like structural context. It just happens. It's part of the fabric of things. Whereas Bartok was always very orderly and structured, but he had more tools at his disposal. He had more, he had the 12 tone row. He had the ability to break out of traditional harmony and also to incorporate um, a lot of dancey folk melodies. So he had more resources, but it's interesting to see that he was more organized in his writing. I thought that was interesting.
Since we had such mature, mature, that's not right word. Since we had such like.
What you mean to say is old. Okay.
No, I mean, but it makes sense actually. It makes
Yeah.
sense that you've been talking the way that you have and very really mature. I think that's the right word because it shows in your playing. And I feel weird saying that you're young, but I feel like you are young. I was 19. You're not 20 yet. I'm at least in my 20s. So no, it shows through. It makes sense that because I hear in your playing and now it translates to how you talk also and how you think. It's great.
Thank you. Well, I'll be getting to my 20s in just over 2 months.
Oh, 2 months.
Yeah.
How do you feel about turning 20?
Oh, it's terrifying.
Really?
I don't know
Why?
what's
Oh, I mean, it's like any other year.
That's it.
It's a number. But also 20s, a lot of strange things will happen.
I'm
And
sure.
exciting things, maybe. I don't know. I don't know what your
Hopefully.
life is like, but so far in my 20s, a lot of weird things. But in a good way. I mean, now I have a charity.
Yeah. Wow.
And now I have classical
What-
jazz. Like with everything is
yeah,
always like spinning like this. So maybe prepare for a lots of spinning when you're 20 and you're just like, whoa. Yeah. I'm not qualified to give you advice on being 20 or in your 20s.
Oh, you're
Really?
fine. Things going on.
What?
You have a lot of things going, which is good.
Let's actually end this. I wanted to start this. Maybe I should have started this earlier, but I didn't think that we would get into such deep conversations. It makes more sense chronologically because someone asked, why'd you start playing the violin?
Well, I was 3 years old
Of course.
when I
You were
started.
a young prodigy.
Like
I didn't start when I was 3. I was still with a 4-key toy piano, so definitely did not start.
I had like a little toy white violin.
Those
But,
exist? What is it like for a toy?
well, I mean, it's not functional. It's just a little thing that looked like a violin. And I would carry it around.
Or
No, there's literally nothing that works. It's just like it's like a piece of plastic. It doesn't do anything.
but what's the fun of it? What's the toy of it? It's just like a thing that looks like a violin. Is that what it is?
Yeah, that's what it is.
But
But
you come from a music family?
my dad played violin when he was a teenager in China.
Okay.
But back then it was sort of like you had to either find a job or you'd be sent to the countryside.
Mm.
Once China started the program where you could take a test to get into college, he stopped and he pursued engineering, which he's an engineer now. But when I was younger, he would go into the living room. I was like maybe 2 years old. I was like crawling around on the floor and he would play some Chinese folk songs.
Mm.
This is all on like videotape. I don't remember any of this, obviously. But I would crawl over and I would listen for a long time. And sort of something clicked even back then in my brain, I guess, because I showed interest in that, and they got me the little plastic toy white violin, and I carried it around the house.
Oh.
So I think that then they definitely knew something was up.
Did you carry with a bow, or did it just come with the violin?
I don't remember.
Oh.
I think there might have been a little plastic bow too. I'm not sure. But then my parents were like, "Oh, he really likes this." So when I got big enough to hold the violin, they gave me I think it was like a 1/32 or something, 1/32 size, and that's when I started.
Yeah. So, did you reach a point where you knew you were going to be a violinist for the rest of your life?
It was always a big part of my life. It was always like something I just did when I came back from school, like through elementary school, through middle school. It never occurred to me that, and I think I was lucky to have this. It never occurred to me that I wouldn't be a musician. It was just sort of like what I did with my time.
Mm. How many hours do you practice a day? Someone also asked.
Right now, I think I average like 3 or 4, maybe.
Really? I'm really surprised because how do you get all of that perfect technique in 3-4 hours? Because that's also around my usual practicing time
Yeah.
average, but it probably is just how you spent your time practicing.
Yeah, I mean,
I thought you would practice like 8-10 hours a day.
Oh, no, no, no. I think my hands would break if I did that.
Yeah, I don't understand how people can do that. It's amazing when they can, but
I have some classmates at Juilliard. They really do practice 8 hours a day. I'm like, how are your hands not falling off after it? Like, it's crazy. It is really about the focus.
Yeah, I agree.
As you know.
And to me, I think you have to have other life experiences outside of just your instrument and
yeah, definitely.
the music. But I'm very surprised though. You must have had that really solid foundation through lots of hours of practice in the beginning, at least.
I was really lucky when I was younger because well, one of my current teachers now, Mr. Lin, I started with him when I was very young, when I was like 5 or 6.
Oh, wow.
And he is excellent at this sort of foundation building.
Mm.
He always stressed, especially when I was younger, the importance of like building technique and building the tools that you need to execute musical ideas.
Yeah.
And he was very focused on that for a long time. So I was very lucky to have that.
What was something that you think people would benefit from knowing now? Like, having had that foundation, what's a tip that you could give people now?
It's important to keep in mind that everything can be learned and everything can also be unlearned. It might be difficult, but it's definitely possible. I especially now, because like, you know, when you're younger, your brain is more malleable.
Yeah,
so like absorbs information better. Now, as I'm getting older.
You feel that already at 19.
Yeah, you sort of absorb things a little slower and it takes time to process them because I think it goes through more pathways in the brain before it sort of settles down, which is good. But also,
has it slowed your progress down though in violin?
I'm not sure, probably, but I've been trying to find ways to like keep my brain flexible, you know.
Yeah. So how do you do that?
There's some exercises that like you can test your brain. Like,
did not know this.
I mean, like the basic things are like puzzles and stuff, but also if you always like absorb new information, like if you always read a lot or if you always watch this and watch that and try to get into things that you know nothing about, you can sort of observe like your own learning curve in a way. You can observe that and you can try to take advantage of it a little bit by sort of thinking about what to focus on at what time.
Yeah.
That sort of thing.
Is there anything else you would like to add to this classical chat?
Oh, I have a question. I have a question for you.
For me?
Yes.
Wow, so nice. People are asking me questions. I always talk about myself. That's what my other channel is for. But what's your question for me?
So you have a lot of things to do and a lot of different things to go through in a day. So what are some things that you find helpful for managing time?
People ask me about time management so much, and I'm
sure.
I don't know.
But you must be really good at it because you figured out a way.
Well, I don't think so. I think it helped to know what my goals are, and also don't forget to eat, because I don't know if these are very intelligent answers, but
no, I'm feeling that as a college student. I have to remember to eat. Yeah.
That's why you're very skinny. I guess the time management for college is also very different because you're in your own school system. You have a schedule that someone else planned for you, whereas when you're out of school, you're in charge of your own schedule. So for me, it's knowing what I want to do each day and doing them. And when I don't have that clear vision, then I begin to lose things and forget things, and things get really chaotic, especially because I'm in charge of so many different things. So yeah. Don't forget to eat, Kevin.
Yes.
And sleep.
I will.
Well, fun talking to you.
Yes, it's been really...
You've been the youngest one so far on Classical Chat.
Oh boy.
Also, when was the last time I talked to someone younger than me? That's actually a very Interesting question. No, but no, it's great talking to you. So thank you for joining in Classical Chat. Look forward
Thank you,
to your
Tom.
concert on Dreamsday.
Yeah,
Yeah.
great. Thank you.
Wow, that was a very deep conversation. Not that I doubted Kevin's maturity or anything like that, because I've heard him play, and everyone that I know who has heard him play also admired his maturity, so it made sense. Hope you enjoy this chat. Don't forget to subscribe if you want more episodes like this, where I can keep on inviting all kinds of people who love classical music to share their stories. See you soon!